Hey, Zaka family! Zaka is launching an exclusive membership platform to provide you with career development workshops, coaching, community, and so much
So
more.
I was actually
Go to
born in Long Island, New
ZakaConnect.com
York.
and sign up to
That's where
receive
my parents
information
met each
on how to
other.
access
So I'm
early
first
registration
generation
and perks.
immigrant, the oldest of two. So I have a younger brother. He's not that much younger, but he's younger than I am. Um, and we lived in New York for a little bit.
Hello,
I think
everybody.
we
This is
moved
Paul
to
Herman, the
Florida by
Prince
the
of
age I was
Motivation
like
and
two,
host
three
of
years
Zaka
old.
Presents My Journey.
My
We're
brother
creating
and
this
my mom
vulnerable and
had a
positive
really bad
platform where you can get
asthma,
inspired
and my
and
brother
motivated from
almost
different
died in
leaders
New
from our
York.
community.
So
Today,
that
our
kind
guest
of
is
made the
Jaylah
move and
Sandoval,
transition
who is a
over to
bilingual
to
voiceover artist,
Florida.
MC, and
And
an
then
on
from
air
there, we
multimedia personality.
kind of landed in
Welcome
Boca
to the show.
Raton, and I was there from like kindergarten through college almost.
Okay. So, college in Florida.
Yes, I did go to college in Florida. My college journey was a little
First off, you
interesting
work for all
because
those titles. That's
before I
that's
actually
first
came
off.
into
And we're going to
radio,
dive
I
into it. I
was
love
a
to hear
preschool
from fellow
teacher.
MCs, people
So
in the
Well, that's
entertainment
a lot of
business. Whenever I'm
personalities right there as a preschool
interviewing
teacher. So
everyone,
you was already prepping
it's
yourself.
always an honor to
I
connect
think
with
I think I
individuals like
was.
yourself and
I
your energy,
definitely
right?
think I
So I
was.
know this
I
interview
mean,
is going to
since
be
high
amazing.
school,
Love it
I had
already.
been
I love the
in a
vibe.
school that had
But
the
before
child
we
care
dive into the
program in
whole
it. So
MCing
I
and
had already
multimedia
graduated
personality and the
with my
jobs and careers that you've
certifications
been
in
on,
teaching.
right? Could you give us a little bit more of an understanding
But
of
there
your
was still
background
something
and
missing.
where you grew up?
So for me, I just kept like, what can I do? And the one thing I did know about myself is that I had a heavy music influence and from my father. And I love to dance. I love to learn, hear the stories behind it. And my dad was really musically almost everywhere. He would
Mm.
go from Journey and Aerosmith to like Juan Luis Guerra, and then it would be merengue, and then it would be salsa, and that was kind of the norm in my household.
Let's
But
get it.
I didn't know how to play any instruments. I cannot sing for the life of me, even though I still try. I do really good lip sync though.
Okay. Okay, we got a couple karaoke challenges out here. We can run down on.
Oh no, I'll bring some courtesy earplugs.
Oh, I got faith in you. I got
But
faith.
listen, it's not going to stop me from trying,
Oh, that's true. Come on. Come
in
on.
my
You got to
head,
try.
in
You
my
got to try.
head, I'm Selena. Like I got this.
Now, talk to me about mom and dad. And where they're from.
So my parents are from Costa Rica and El Salvador. My dad is Costa Rican. My mom is Salvadorian. Even though they're very close to each other, they are two completely different worlds.
Mm.
So having kind of both worlds was really interesting kind of growing up. You
When
know,
you say both worlds, talk to me. Help me out. Break it down a little bit. Like,
I
what
feel
does it mean when you say both worlds? I want to know what
so
this. Dive
like
in a little bit more.
El Salvador is more old school, very traditional. My mom came from a very, very small town where honestly, until about less than 10 years ago, they didn't even have electricity.
Oh,
So it was like you had to climb, like you had to drive 6 hours, then park the car, climb a mountain to get to like the house where she was born. So like for me going over there, I would always, we would have to be, because it was so dangerous, be inside the house by 8 o'clock. We would be like, but why? Like, we didn't understand it. But we also didn't understand that at that time, we stood out like a sore thumb. Salvadorians typically are short, fair skinned, like all my aunts, my uncles, my cousins. And
mm.
I'm 5'7.5". My brother's 6 feet tall. So we stick out like a sore thumb over there. So it was always one of those things where they're like, we just got to be extra careful because there was a lot of violence at the time. And thanks to our current president, Buka, like it's changed.
Okay. And what does like your culture being Latina means to you? Because I know you said you had the best of both worlds, but like overall, like being a Latina, how's that? What's that like?
I think I honestly, I'll be honest, I get that heavy from my Costa Rican side. I'm a Costa Rican citizen. I love Costa Rica. I'm not trying to be biased or anything, but I travel the world and I love seeing different places, from tiny villages to the beautiful side of things. But Costa Rica, I feel, has the best of all types of worlds. You have the Pacific coast, you have the Atlantic coast, you have,
True.
just and throughout the whole country. Like for us, I grew up not knowing, what racism was in a sense, because in Costa Rica, they look like me, they look like you, they look, my aunt has blonde with blue eyes. Like they don't, like for me, it was just kind of like what I saw here,
True.
so it was never anything different. But the Latina culture, the dancing they have over there, the spirit, just the friendliness, the food, the way they treat life is just such a beautiful thing. So, and that's very much how I decided to live my life and chase my career, and it kind of went from there. I had to do college there. I had to work during the day at a gym, taking care of kids. I was a nanny. I was going to FIU at the same time. And then at night, I was going to broadcasting school about like 2 hours away from my house, just to like make sure I still had
Mm.
all the pieces together. Like they were like, you're gonna get a degree, I don't care. And I'm like, fine, but I want to do this too. So
Okay.
it's kind of our deal, because it's still, like I said, traditional Latino household. It was,
You got to be this. That. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
in my household, it was dad's way or the highway. Like there was just no ifs and buts or ors.
It's one of those things that like a lot of the guests that have been on our show have expressed, being from the immigrant background. Their parents are like doctor, lawyer. You're gonna get a degree, but a degree that's gonna make you money. But they never really understood, our parents and our grandparents didn't say like any profession can make you money. At the end of the day, you want to be a garbage man, you can make money. You want to be a postman, you can make money, right? It's just how you go about it. But I think that, as time progressed and as how the industry has evolved, individuals like ourselves now, when we go to our parents, we could be like, hey, mom, dad, this is what I do. And they could see that it makes sense because there's more individuals out there doing it. But back then it was like, who do we have as a reference? I think I had at the time Bill Bellamy,
Yeah.
right? I used to be like, mom, I want to be like Bill Bellamy. She's like, who that? Get to school. And I was like, but what about me being like, but no, wasn't going down. But I'm glad that you were able to juggle all those things. And, in your childhood, like talk to me about, was there anything that impacted your childhood to kind of get you to do what you're doing now?
Honestly, like I said, the biggest influence was always my dad and his love of music. It was
Mm.
like, for me, it's like, I'm the type of person, I'm the type of person that like, if there was a movie about me, like I would have a soundtrack, right?
But you don't sing.
But I don't sing, but I'm gonna have a soundtrack to my life. I'm not even,
Okay.
because I remember for my quinceañera,
Oh, yes, that's right. You got to have a Kingston.
when I had my quince, my little gift was literally songs. I made a mixtape with songs dedicated to me from my family. So I put my picture in the front, I put
Oh,
me
no.
on
Let's
it, and in
go.
the back, I put the name of the songs and like who dedicated it. So it was like a mix of like B2K, but like Chayanne in the top, and it had bachata. Like it was.
Oh, okay, DJ. You was, did you have any fears growing up as a child?
Did I have any what?
Fears.
Like,
Like you were you were scared of anything? Like you seem like you were just like, look, you had this energy at a young age. You talking about making your own mixtape to give to your parents and your family members. Like, did you have any fears like coming up?
well, honestly, like I grew up being really bullied. So for me, I never got along with my peers. Like I always hung out with my older cousins or
Okay.
hung out with like staff. Like I remember one time, like the principal saw me skipping and she was like, Sandoval, get in the cart. I was like, okay. And I would like go to lunch with them and check up and do like, I was always like asking the teacher, hey, do you need me to help with anything? Like to kind of like
Okay.
avoid like, it just was never my vibe.
Okay.
Like
Yeah. I
never.
like that. You found yourself at an early age. You knew exactly what you was into and what you wasn't into.
Yeah. And then also like, I was bullied for being overweight. I was 275 pounds at one point, but going through high school, I went to a school in
Oh,
Boca Raton.
oh
Realistic.
yeah, Boca.
super, super superficial. And
Yeah.
at that time, like, I'm over here, there wasn't a lot of minorities, and it was very drastic because like I was in the middle of the weird phase because I wasn't Hispanic enough or Spanish enough for the Spanish kids that were like in ESOL coming from Colombia or Brazil or
Yeah.
any Mexico or any of these other countries. But I also, wasn't fitting in with the other white kids. I didn't want to do all of that. So like I always kind of found myself floating. Like I can't play basketball, but I love basketball. So I tried out for the team. That didn't work out, but they saw so much passion in me because I like just wanted it that they made me the manager for the boys and girls basketball team. And I ended up
Okay.
like the logos for our shirts. Like I've always been a creative.
You see, so
And I
I'm
didn't
seeing like,
realize that.
I see that. I see it. So at a young age, first off, shout out to the mixtape again. I got to give you that. I've never seen that at the King say, like, shout out to the mixtape. And then
I'm
it
gonna
just
send you.
continued on.
I'm gonna send you a copy because a few copies still exist around.
Okay, okay. I can download it on Spotify or something. Get to that playlist. That's crazy. Did you have any like role models like growing up?
For me, a lot of my role models, honestly, and it's crazy that I think about it, after I made that switch because I didn't think it impacted me as much as it did at that time. Right? It's almost like it planted a seed really young, and then like that seed just kept growing and growing and growing until it finally went, here I am, like, we got to do this for real now. And that was like, for me, just watching TV, like watching the Latin shows my parents watched,
Okay.
Cristina to us was the Latin Oprah.
Yeah,
She had all
yeah,
people, and I love that because she would get to know them. Like she would, and it felt so almost like normal. Like it
yeah,
was, they were buddies. Like they opened
yeah,
up, they were friends. And I just like those connections, those things. But the big pivot point in my life when I said, this is what I want to do, like that passion that I have, it was in high school, it was my senior year. We went to, those grad bashes they have at like Universal and
yeah,
Disney and all that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ours happened to be at Disney, and our local radio station from Miami happened to be there that weekend. So we have Power 96 back in the day.
True, true.
We're talking about, 06. So
Early, late 2000s. I
somewhere
got you.
in there. And they were on stage and they're, all the high school kids hyping it up. And something that day, like it was just almost like like a tunnel, like it just drew me into it. I
Mm,
remember going on that trip and I almost didn't go because I had messed up my ankle. So
okay.
I was in a wrap, and they're like, it's a big liability, she's gonna have to be in a wheelchair the whole time. That's the only way we'll let it go. So I, did it. And, all my friends were like, yeah, 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 we'll be good. We'll be good. You'll get us to the front of the line. Let's just say everybody left.
Your friends were smart.
Well, they were until they left, and they left me alone with one.
No, 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 no.
So her and I went on an adventure, just us two. And we went to the stage, saw DJ Laz, and then I, of course, being the super loud Latina that I am, started screaming, and he heard me over the speakers that were probably like up to here to me, like those big jumbo
Yeah,
speakers.
yeah, them jumbo joints. Yeah, it would make the whole stage rattle.
And he heard me, came down the stage, and he goes, I heard you over those speakers, girl. And I was like, yo, I listened to you on the radio, da da da. And he was like, you know what? He's like, what happened? I was like, no, I messed up my foot and all my friends disappeared. Only she stayed with me. He's like, you know what? I got you. He goes, I know what it is to have a limp, because he was known being the pimp with the limp. That was just his
Mm-hmm.
thing and on the radio. So he gave us passes. I met all the other radio personalities. We
Oh,
went
let's go. Oh, this was a big day.
Yeah, it was like a little VIP, and that just really changed my life. And he's, I've worked with him. It was a blessing to work with him briefly when I was here in Miami. And, You know, he really did. That moment really changed my life. You know, that station changed my life. It was one of those things where it was my escape. You know, I would listen every Friday to
That's
the
nice.
every Friday to the Power Love Hour, and they'd be like, "Who do you want to dedicate this to?"
Yeah. They used to have
Like,
that on Hot 97
yeah,
or at Kiss FM.
nope, I remember
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah,
So like,
yeah, that was
you
the
know, like
joint. You had to
when
lock in.
when you were a teenager, you know, you would record it or you would hear your friends calling in, and
Yeah.
the type of vibe that it was, like it resonated with people. People like I was locked in and I was like, yo, I don't even know these people and I feel like I know them.
Mhm.
And I love
But
that.
that's your personality. You talked about it a little bit in regards to the culture as well, like how you connecting people. When you got out of college, like you got into this thing. This DJ noticed you, gave you an opportunity, right? You get your first job out of college now, right? You got your degrees. Like, did college even prepare you for the career you were about to jump into?
Well, I didn't go from college straight. Like I met Laz and we never worked together. We
Oh,
didn't
okay,
work
got you.
until years down the road. But he was always like, I would see him at clubs or I would see him at different places, and he was always like, oh, hi, how are you doing? What are you up to? You know, like he was always that, like, and kept it personable and made it seem like he really
True.
knew me, like we were really friends.
Well, you was definitely very loud. He can't forget that. Every time he saw you, he's like, before you start yelling, let me just acknowledge you.
Yeah, so, you know, like that opportunity put me into broadcasting school. Broadcasting school, I met a bunch of great people. And then, you know, we go through the process of interning. So I'm applying everywhere. I applied to Power 96, everything in South Florida I applied to, got nothing. And
Mm.
at the time, you know, my friends are still like in college. Some of them live in Orlando. So at the time, one of the guys I was kind of like into from high school, had casually moved to Orlando. And one of my close friends, she's like, my boyfriend lives in Orlando and I want to move. And I just like kept ringing. I was like, you know what? I'm going to apply to one internship. If I get that internship, I'm out to Orlando.
Okay.
Lo and
Okay.
behold, boom, I get the internship.
Let's get it.
So I drive for the internship all the way to Orlando from Boca. It's about three,
I was gonna say 3 and a half.
a little less. It was two and change, but you know, at the time in my younger
We
20s,
we know how you moving.
in the younger 20s when Fast and the Furious was the thing. I thought I was playing Mario Kart, you know?
Oh my gosh.
But you know, at that time, we were looking for a place, you know, my internship was only 3 months, so it was very limbo. So I honestly, for that opportunity, I actually drove from Boca to Orlando weekly for events because I didn't have. So I would either like take a nap in the car after the event and then drive back at midnight,
Team
or
Brown.
I would go up and do my 2-hour gig because it was only a 2-hour internship. And then, or I would have to get a hotel. And sometimes I didn't even have money for hotels. I didn't have friends like that
Yeah,
had.
yeah, true, true. No,
Most of them were living in dorms. You know, it wasn't like one of those situations where it was like, oh, I can
and
just.
Airbnbs weren't even like a thing.
Most things didn't even exist. You know, and
Yeah.
even a motel room at that time was like, dang, I got to spend bread on this. Like, you know, so I took the sacrifice and I just would drive back up and down and commute for as long as I could. So the internship was like, we feel really bad. We're gonna extend it. So like after month 2, they extended it. I was the first intern ever to get what they called Power Player of the Month, which is like Employee of the Month. They normally
Okay.
only staff, and at that time I was an intern still. So
Wow.
they accepted that. They gave me that honor, and then that was like the second month in. So then I finally moved. I was working at the mall. I was working at Piercing Pagoda, counting all the rings and all the
Everybody's got to do something like that.
Absolutely, you know, and one of the things that I learned with that process was, and I tell everybody this, when people ask me for advice, I always tell them, you know, if you can't get a job in what you want, try to get a job where you want.
True. Well said.
So even if you start as an intern, but you really want to work at Target or at Disney, you know, corporate level wise, you know, go work, go learn, go know what you're getting yourself into, you
True.
know, and that always, for me, has always helped because I learned that, like, I was at Piercing Pagoda and I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, what am I getting out of this on my time other than money? And it's not even, it's chump change at that point, you know?
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
that point, what our minimum wage was like $8 an hour. Like,
850 probably.
yeah, like
Yeah, no, it's definitely very hard, when you're trying to manage and you put all this time and work in school, you get out and you're like, what am I doing? But
yeah,
the good thing about what you said, and which I want our listeners to really tap into, is that you still found the positives even in those times. Because a lot of our listeners have contacted us and said, I'm at a place in my life, I'm trying to make that shift, but I'm not happy yet. Right. And you still found the positive, which I commend you on, because it's hard to do that at times, especially when you feel like you've put in a lot of work behind closed doors and you finally get out of school and you're like, this is what I got. This is what's going to pay my bills. But you made the changes, you got things going, and you obviously landed some amazing, amazing roles and positions and stuff like that. Working MTV, Billboard, uh, personality on like Univision radio, like you tapped into some really big things. And that again was just you starting off yelling behind a speaker and getting to where you are. Out of curiosity, which I always gotta ask all of my entertainers, like what are like some of the qualities that you possess that you feel are very important to be in your profession?
from the beginning till now, because obviously there's been a lot of growth and a lot of changes throughout my career, especially to the point where I am now. Um, but for me is resilience, passion, and faith.
True.
Honestly,
True.
faith is the hardest one
Yeah, you
because
got it.
not
Yeah.
only you especially in the entertainment world, it's a world of, it's a really crappy world. I'm not gonna front. It's a really crappy business wise. It's hard, it's who you know, there's so much politics to it. There's so much change, especially now with the access with like TikTok and Instagram and things like that. People don't even have to go to school anymore. Realistically, there's children younger than my daughter
Making
making,
six figures.
you know
Six
what I mean?
figures.
And that's changed everything, but one thing that I do tell people is if you really have that much like fire in your heart, or if it's something that you really can't stop thinking about, like find a way to keep going in some way, shape, or form, right? So you never know what door is going to open and when it's going to open, or what conversation could lead to a bigger conversation. What podcast or whoever's watching that podcast
True.
can open a door for you just by hearing your story, and being vulnerable is hard. Being transparent is harder. And for me, it's been a gift and a curse because, it's great. I've had a great fan base. Like I'm very clear with them. I talk to them. Most of them feel like family because they've followed me for 10, 11, 12 years. And they've seen me, when I was pregnant with my daughter. Now that my daughter's
Okay.
8, they're going to see her through her quince. It's growth that they have seen throughout all of these years, but resilience and really just that passion. People are always going to tell you no, they're always going to want to hate, they're always, but if you take it, and this is now something where I've grown in God, and that's there, he has perfect timing. There is a time and
Yeah.
there is a
Yep.
time and place for everything. Because if I wouldn't have gone through my hardships or any of that, I wouldn't be here talking to you about it. I couldn't help or understand other people in the industry or other women going through domestic violence or divorce or a separation or postpartum or even being a mom, a single mom.
Yeah. 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 The cross my father always said, the cross you carry, right? It would help somebody else, right? And I always tell individuals whenever I do my motivational seminars, I always tell people like the story you're writing right now is not for you. it's for the next person to read. When you write a book, it's for the person to read it, right? You obviously are going to read your book, but you wrote it, right? But it's for the person who's going to pick up the book. So whether it be your son, your daughter, a family member, or a close friend, or someone, a stranger, right? When they pick up that book, that's what do you want to put inside of that story, right? And yeah, do put those hardships and stuff like that, and talk about them with pride. Like, be proud of that. Like, look, this is a part of my life. This is a part of my scars. But look what I'm doing with it, right? And you definitely have achieved a lot. And I'm always very impressed when I hear from our guests, like how they were juggling 20 things at once and still manage to get what they wanted. That just goes to show that you were definitely aligning your purpose. Because if you weren't, then it would have taken years, or maybe you probably wouldn't be where you are right now. But again, you were aligned, and it's gotten you to a great place. And I know from reading like your bio, it seems that you wear multiple hats.
Yes.
Yeah, multiple hats, which is good, right? Especially in a day of today, right? You just can't just be like, look, this is me. No, you're gonna be like, this is me, and I can also do this. So you have various different skill sets. What do you do outside of being on the air, right?
Being outside of being in front of the camera.
100%, because I know it's all the skill sets you got. A lot of them are applying to your job, but like I know, obviously you're definitely a wonderful mom. But what else do you do?
So, so I always, like I told you, I always try to find a way to work and use it to build. So that has taken me through many roads in this industry. One of my first things that I did was working in the event space during college. I went to FIU, the school of hospitality, because I was always interested, like in PR or being, in like, on air or something like that. But I always, something my father and my family taught me was to be well-rounded, right? Like he's a boss of a gutter company, but he also, because he's the owner and he's been there for 25 years, he doesn't sit at his desk and send people and does orders. No, he's out in the field taking estimates. He's out in the field fixing the gutters. He's still working with the team. So for me, was really important that if I wanted to get on air, what do I have to do to understand the people that work around me? Because we're understanding what they have to do and what you work brings a different type of understanding and empathy that I think people never have, and a lot of talent have problems with.
I can see that.
And I just never wanted to be that type of person because that's just not where my foundation is, for my family. And I always try to do everything as my first thought would be like, okay, if you do this and your parents saw it,
That's the line right there.
How would we feel about this?
That's the line. Oh no, that was the joint.
And we live unfortunately in a world right now where I promise you, I don't even think 5% of the people think about that anymore. And it's rare and it's hard to see, but I've also survived MySpace, I've survived Vine, I've survived
Mi Gente, Black Planet.
Black Planet. I mean, you name it, we've survived it.
Yeah.
So, I always tell people, what do you want out of this? Do you want to be a super mega star or a TikToker and an influencer now? Or are you trying to be in this in the long run?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've molded throughout all of those journeys, throughout all of the waves, through all the trends that come around, and I pick and choose. Like for me, some TikTok things just aren't me. That's just not my personality. I'm not going to go sit there and dance around or be half naked to get followers. That's not what I'm here for.
True.
I'm here to spread the word. I'm here for people to grow. I'm here to, change lives. And, even if my goal was always one person, and now my goal is as many as I can, you know what I mean? In any way, shape, or form. Especially in the Latino culture, we have so many generational cycles that need to be broken.
I
you
see.
know, the relationship between parents and their kids, you know, the relationship of being seen simply as an adult, not your baby anymore. You know, having that respect for each other. I see it a lot in the culture, and people still like, you know, hold themselves back from doing things or taking that next step or becoming entrepreneurs because simply our parents don't understand this culture. They don't get it. They realistically,
And
you know.
there's no way of like I mean, obviously there's majors now, right, that could kind of help, right? But it's hard to even have that conversation because it's like there's no reference, right? And especially because you wear multiple hats, it's not like you saying, "Mom and Dad, I'm an MC, and this is what an MC does." You're like, "I do this, 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 and this, and this," and to them, they're like, "Hold on, this is too much. How are you gonna survive?"
And to them, honestly, let's be real, the way they were taught to see success is monetary.
Yeah, you're right.
My dad, and I think that's why I took the route that I do, because other than being a masochist and a rebel, um, I I saw my dad always work at his company, and he hated it. He hates it till this day. He says he hates it, but he
Mm,
loves what the company gives him, which is
yeah,
financial freedom
yeah,
to provide and to do the other things. So it's all money based. And I
yeah.
think for me, that hindered me in my career a little bit because I would always be like, I'll do it for free for the opportunity. Oh, I'll do it for the networking. Oh, like, and then I would, in a sense, lose my value when it was time, you know, because I didn't have food in
True.
the refrigerator, because I couldn't pay my rent or my mortgage, because I was paying a rent and a mortgage at the same time because I bought a house when in 2007, right after graduating, because I had ran into some money, and then, you know, I still wanted to follow my dreams. So I had to figure out how to
Yeah,
balance both, rent it out.
that's a lot.
And it's been like,
That's a lot. That's a lot. Oof. Now, with you being Latina, right, and just being in this industry, you know, as an MC, and you know all the various different hats that you wear, like, do you see a lot of Latinas in the same at the same level as you when you look to your left and your right?
I think right now we're in a beautiful space where we have, as Latinas, as a Latin culture in general, as Latinos, Latinx, really are really pushing for that next level, for that next step. I think that unfortunately, a lot of us were raised, and I love seeing that that's kind of breaking right now, is seeing that like we're supposed to be pinned against each other, right? Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's only one spot for one radio host on the biggest station in New York City. And instead of, you know, helping us unite or making more opportunity for us as women, you know, maybe putting all of us on one, you know,
Yeah,
show,
rotation.
or, you know, spreading it out, or I don't know, whatever it may be, it was like almost like, all right, fight for it, you know, and that's something that,
And we already have that in us, that fight.
yeah, you
But then
know.
you're gonna pin us against each other. The fight is utilized for the wrong reason now.
Right. And then like, you know, then other things start happening. People start getting, you know,
No shady.
shady and sneaky. And then you start seeing other things. And like for me, you know, I don't think I'm at where I want to be, or where, I mean, I don't want to say where I should be. I think I'm here in the position that I'm at for a reason. And that there's more to come. I think right now a brand new chapter is starting for me,
Mm,
and I'm really excited for it because it's going to be done the way that I see my career playing out. And that's something that I also learned, that people go against each other, but you never know what that person's final goal really is.
true. That's like it might be a stepping stone.
Right.
You
So
can have that. I'm going past you. I'm just using. I just have to get this one opportunity so I can get to the next thing.
exactly.
Well
So
said.
I think, having conversations, getting to know people, and again, just for me, I'm real. I'm sometimes I too real and I say things to people or bosses that, I'm just like, that's
Yeah,
not right. That's not correct. Like
you're advocating. We're gonna say those words. You're an advocate.
I've been called overly passionate a lot.
Okay. But the word passion is in there.
So, I don't mind that. I think that those are all been opportunities that I needed to learn something from. And I got what I wanted when I left Florida to go to New York.
True.
I wanted to work at the number one station in the number one market on the number one show. And I
You did
got
it.
it. I
Yeah.
got to La Mega with Alex Sensation on the biggest show in New York City,
Yeah. Nah. You was putting in some work. You was
and
definitely putting in some work. And then because you kept your head down, you didn't
but
fall. You didn't fall victim.
But the
Uh oh.
problem is that it didn't come with what I thought it would come.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
for
I like.
me, the biggest lesson in all of that was be careful what you ask for and how you asked for it. Be detailed. When you want to manifest, when you want to pray, when you want to do whatever it is that you do to send out that energy that you want something,
Mm,
because some people do different things. When you are doing that in your process, the intention, you have to be detailed
yeah.
about that intention, about
Yeah.
what you want out of it, because if you're generic, it's going to give you what it is.
Mm, mm. And when it's all said and done, like what is like if you were to have a group of Latinas in front of you, right? What is like some advice that you would want to give to them for like the future generation?
Stay true to yourself and who you are. Be authentically you. It took me a little while to learn that, um, because especially on the Latin side of things, it's very like you need to look like this, you need to act like this if you
Yeah.
want to kind of be here. And I don't think I ever fit in any like I wasn't urban enough to be hip hop. I wasn't, like girl Sofia Vergara enough for the Latin, like, so I was kind
You
of
right in the middle. You good.
I'm the homegirl that plays video games, but I cook. And then like I want to go to the arcade. And then at
Let's
the
go.
time, like I like dorky stuff. Like I'm that girl. Like I'm the girl, the homie. I hang out with
Mm.
guys. Like
But that's someone who's down to earth, right? That's someone who's like, this is life, right? And you can't just bubble yourself up and put yourself in a box and be like, well, I only do this for fun. No, like experience life. Life is too beautiful and it's too short, right?
yeah,
So it's important that we experience it and see it for all its greatness that it has, because there's a lot of negativity in the world, as we already know, right? So it's
absolutely.
important to find, those pockets where you can be like, you know what, what's wrong with me bowling? What's wrong with me going to the arcade? And sometimes they might say, well, you're a Latina, you shouldn't be doing that, right? But then that's that's your opinion, right? I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do it to the best of my ability.
And
And
it
you
took
can
me,
be
it took
slaying.
me a while. It took me a while though. Like I kept I think a side of my personality, like almost like hidden, right? Because I felt like it was gonna make the situation worse in the sense where it would make me more of a tomboy, more of a rebel to them. Because,
Mm.
like for me, I love wrestling. Like The Rock is the world to me. Like I'm dying.
Like you wrestling or going to watch wrestling?
I, Me and my daughter be wrestling on my king size bed. Like I don't play.
Yeah,
I'm
you
that
you
person.
you about that life. You
Yeah,
are
no
just
mercy, no
person
mercy, no mercy with me. Like I'm gonna
with
fight to the end with Uno. I don't care if she's 8, 6, 5, 4. She no draw 4. What's up? Like you gotta teach him young.
yo, you really are a character, and I love that about you. Love that. And one of my last questions to you is like, I know that we talked about your profession and what you're doing, but I know you probably got some projects in the works coming up. I don't know if some of them are on the hush hush, but Let me know. Let the listeners know what you got going on.
So I've been working quietly for the past almost 3 years now, into my big transition into tech, which is
Tech.
really exciting. I have my company Cafe Cultura, that's kind of merging with my new personal brand, which has been Esa Carita. So I opened both of my companies. So I've been building that. I'm really excited for it because it's just going to open um, my doors and my knowledge and my contact,
Good.
my network
Good.
for a lot of different, like, I'm doing consultations, I'll be doing voiceovers. There's like so many, I do events, I put on events, I host events, I MC, different things, everything from weddings and quinces to corporate. But I also can plan a mean sales breakfast for your meeting.
Let's
So,
go. Come on.
I've
Come on.
I've been planning, a little party, like holiday parties and stuff for small businesses to show appreciation to their staff when especially the boss doesn't have time to do it. It's not that they don't want to. Sometimes they just don't have the time. So I come in and help.
Good.
But with that being said, our first official event we've done a little bit, soft opening events. We did some for Art Basel week, for Miami Art Week. So we are going to do an event with the Loose Media Group and Project Pulso, with their
Okay.
founders, and then the Latina Techie as well. So we're going to do a spotlight and a fireside chat, and that's coming up to wrap up Women's History Month. So I'm really excited about that. And then we've
Okay.
got, a couple events coming up, some conferences I can't quite spill just yet.
Okay. Okay.
But
Listeners, tap in.
we
Tap.
got some conferences in the works, so we'll be at a couple things. And yeah, definitely still working. My podcast is launching also. It's called Along the Way with Jaylah.
Let's go.
Going to be basically the podcast is all about my journey and the people that I've met along the way. So I've met people from, chefs, singers, producers, like
Good. Yeah.
name it.
Yeah.
I've doctors, and it's just either changed my life or I've created some amazing bonds that really have I've grown as a person,
Yeah.
and my career has also grown through that. So that's going to be the basis of along the way with Jaylah. So that's coming out in April. I'm really excited about it.
Well, Jaylah. Right. First off, on being just being an amazing mom to your daughter. I pray for her in the next Uno game you guys got going on. Hopefully, she's able to start understanding that mom is very competitive over there.
Listen,
Right.
she knows. She knows. She's 8 years old. She thinks she's 18. She
Oh,
knows.
okay, okay. Shout out
Yeah.
to mom and dad for giving you this template, this blueprint to kind of get you going. And shout out to your friend. I'm not gonna forget her, the one that was with you with the wheelchair. Whatever her name. 'Cause I always gotta big up the people. When people tell me the stories, I always gotta make sure I reference back to them. So when she hears this interview, she knows who she is, right? That we're talking about her, and thank you for just supporting you during that time, and obviously making that connection to the DJ and all the other stuff. Because as you said, like that was like a life changing moment, right? And it's the right person being in your life, being there. Even at your lowest point, she was still there. So I got to give her that, that credit when it's due. So
I tell everybody a small circle is better than a big batch. So find yourself a nice little small
that's it. Let's get it.
your core five, your core four, whatever it needs to be, but find those people that will
Hold you down.
hold you down, especially, I went through the dark time after my divorce with anxiety and depression, and it was really, 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 really hard. And luckily, I had literally like 3 people that I could call and count on.
Mhm.
As much as I'm a personality and I know a lot of people,
You lean on somebody.
I don't really have friends. Like I have friends, all my really close friends are in Orlando or New York So he being here in South Florida, you know, it's just to be closer to my parents, so my daughter could have that foundation, that relationship with them.
It's
Um,
nice.
you just never know. COVID was a really scary thing. I was in New York when that happened, so you know, I treasure those moments for them. But yeah,
Well,
it's been a journey, and I tell everybody enjoy the journey. Some people rush to the finish line.
yeah, no, we're not doing that.
And then when they look back, they're like, man, I should have really enjoyed that day instead of it being a memory of something else. And
Well,
I express that to people, you know, enjoy the moment. Don't always
yeah,
just enjoy, like soak in it, because you'll look back one day and be like, wow, that was actually a way bigger moment than I
yeah.
actually thought it would be.
Well, Jaylah, you have a friend here, girl. And you
Thank
have the
you.
whole Zaka community by your side. And we appreciate you for taking the time out to be with us today and sharing your journey and about your life and all the wonderful things you have coming up. And I want to let the listeners know if you want to hear more inspirational stories like Jaylah, please check us out on ZakaConnect.com. Follow our social at Zaka Connect and follow our feed, Zaka, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Thank you so much for having me.